What does your account look like if you have the distributions rolled back in, or if you are capturing your distributions? We're going to throw it all into a spreadsheet and we're going to see what the outcome looks like. I think you're going to like this one. Hello my friends, this is Legend. Today we're going to change it up just a bit. And I've been working on a spreadsheet for a little bit, and it's not completely done, but I think it's at a point where we can actually look at MSTY and see what the account would look like if you have the DRIP, which is the Dividend Reinvestment Program, turned on or turned off. We're going to be able to see what the account balance would look like in each scenario. And before we do that, if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, smash the like button, it'd be much appreciated if you enjoy content like this. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the sheet. Okay, so here we are on my spreadsheet, and again, this is still in the trial phase, and I'm still working on it. And I know a few of you have also asked if I can make this sheet available as well, but it's not quite at that level yet. I've still got some work to do, some things to clean up, but I think I'm at a point where I can use it to at least show you the differences between the DRIP on and off. And again, DRIP stands for the Dividend Reinvestment Program. Now, I realize these are not dividends, they are distributions, but they work the same way, ultimately. So let me just kind of quickly go over the sheet here and basically how it's going to work. First of all, over here on this side, I have my ticker symbol, I have my start date, and I have the end date. And the end date is just today's date. And currently, I've got it set as those dates and as the MSTY ticker symbol. And once you enter in your start date and your end date, it will populate from that range of dates throughout the chart below. It will populate all of the closing prices for each of those dates. And then we have over here in this column, without getting into too much detail here, I've got my drop down box right here, and you can pick the day that you actually want to purchase more shares on if you want to do it that way, or you can have it as user defined, and then you can go in there and you can just put in how much ever you want into the cells below, or you can actually use this percentage up here. And what that will basically do, it will take your average price minus the percentage that you have entered here into this cell of that price. And if it is greater than the current price, then it will make a purchase of the number of shares you've entered into this cell down here. And I now have this drip on and drip off. So right here I have a drop down box where you can say, are you dripping your distributions back in, or are you not dripping? And DRIP again means Dividend Reinvestment Program. And what that means is when you get paid that distribution, it turns right around and your broker will purchase shares for you at the time that your distribution is received into your account. Sometimes that may be for the next day for that purchase, but you would need to contact your broker to get the full details of how their DRIP program works, if it is even available for your broker. For the buy day right here for the DRIP, I've just got the Friday. I mean, I do have it as a drop down, but I only have it as that Friday. This one here is the initial number of shares that you've purchased. So this will be what you actually started out with. If you made one big purchase, or if you started off with 10 shares. This is just the initial purchase that you started your MSTY journey with. And that would technically be your start date up here. So in this case, where I'm showing 100 shares on that start date of November the 20th, 2024. And then you can see that here is the number of shares for the auto populate. and that is for your reinvestment or your repurchased shares. You can change this from 10 to 20 to 100 to 1,000, whatever you want, and that would auto-populate the fields below if one of these criteria up here is true. Now, I know that's a lot to go through, but I'm just kind of giving you the idea and the mechanics of how this is working. Over here in this area, we've got the total number of shares that we have. We have the total distributions earned, the reinvested amount that you've reinvested, and that would be for your DRIP program. And currently we have that set to no. We have the account value. We've got the account value with your distributions. So that takes the account value plus your distributions and then gives you the total amount there. Your total amount of capital that you have spent is in this field. And then how much do you have at risk? And that at risk would be the amount that you spent minus the distributions that you have earned. In this case, with this setup, we're at a $2,600 risk, where we had actually originally spent $4,400, but we've earned back $1,800. So that gave us an original purchase per share of $44.40. The average price per share being, of course, the $44.40 because we only made that one purchase and we have not purchased any more since. So therefore, that does not change your average price per share in this case, but the adjusted price per share is $26.04 because it takes into account that you have earned those distributions. So there's a lot of little playing you can do with this sheet. And if you wanted to say, okay, if the current price would be less than my average price minus my average price times some kind of percentage here. So I can make an adjustment here by just changing this percentage, and that would purchase if my average price is that percentage above the current price. So let's just put in, say, 20%. So that will make a few purchases throughout. And now we have upped our shares to 290 shares. We have a distribution earned of $3,300. With an account value of $6,100, the capital spent is $8,600, and the amount at risk is $5,200. Our original purchase price being that $44.40, as we were showing earlier, but the average price, and that's your average purchase price, of $29.78, but we do have an adjusted price per share of $18.22. So we're bringing that price on down, upping the number of shares that we are earning our distributions from, and trying to also lower our risk. But when you are purchasing, it does, of course, slow down you from getting your capital back quicker. But that's all fine and dandy, but I imagine a lot of you out there who are wanting to see, well, what if the drip is turned on? So let's just turn that on and see where we're at. So first of all, I'm going to put this back at 100% so that it will not make any additional purchases here. So we're back to where we had originally started from, and now I'm going to turn drip on. So it will up our number of shares, and you'll see the outcome here. Boom, there we go. So we went from 100 shares to 192 shares. Now we did earn more distribution, of course, because we are increasing our share count as we go. So we earned almost $2,400 in distributions, but we did reinvest those distributions, so that money went in to purchase more shares. That gives us an account value of $4,070. Now that is unrealized, of course, because that is the value of the number of shares you own times the current price of MSTY, and that will give you your account of value. So that is not gains, that is only your unrealized gains, right? So your account value with your distributions is the same because you've rolled your distributions right back into the ETF. Capital spent, well, it hasn't necessarily increased from your original So you're at $4,400 at risk. But of course, that is what you still are at risk, your full initial capital. So if we look at the breakdown of the per share of your original was at $44.40, your average purchase price of $23.07, and you also have the adjusted price per share here, and this value is not correct. So again, that is why it is still being worked on, because this one here is actually taken into account of your full capital spent and taken out the distributions, but you've rolled the distributions back in. So we just need to make sure that we take into account of that so that this will be correct. And we can fix that right here. We will just take and we will also subtract off the K3. And there you go. Because the average price per share would be the same as your adjusted price per share because you have reinvested your distributions back into the ETF. So you did earn distributions, but you took those and then purchased more shares to increase the number of shares so that you can increase your distributions, but then rolling those back in means that you cannot take them off of the capital that you have at risk. So that takes it to that $23.07 as well. Now, the neat thing about this sheet also is no matter what stock ticker or ETF ticker you enter in here, it can pull all those closing prices and everything else within the range of those dates that you set. The only thing that you do have to do, and it does state it up here in the red instructions, and that number 2, that you do have to enter in those values for the distributions. And it's on the other side of the purple line. So we come over here, and this chart right here is those distributions. And these are the ones from MSTY. Now, the green here is the only columns that you actually need to fill in. The reason why I have all of these with the record date, the X date, and the declaration date is pretty simple. It's just because that's how it's laid out on the MSTY website. And I'll show you that here real quickly, right there. As you can see, that's just how it's laid out. So it just makes it pretty easy. I can come right over here and I can click and hold and then drag all the way down to the bottom and just doing a copy, going right back to my sheet here and then pasting right here. And then it pastes all of the information right here that the sheet needs in order to fill out for the distributions that you will have earned. And that's where we're getting these values right here. And we can scroll on through and you can see there's all the distributions. Boom. And they're all in there if they are over there in that table. And there's our latest of $1.47. But it will take and it will look that up and drop it underneath the correct pay date. In this case, we get paid on Friday and it dumps it in on that Friday. Here's another one, as you can see, again, that Friday on December the 20th. And with the drip on, it will also look to see if you have the drip on, and if you do, then it will take that amount of distribution you did earn and then purchase the number of shares it can purchase with that amount at the current close price of that day. And that close price in this case being $35.85. Now, this sheet is not necessarily for tracking your current portfolio or anything like that. It is really just for plugging in, seeing which one is better, what's better as far as in when to buy. Is it better with the drip on, off? And if you want to make your own separate purchases in here, yes, there is a little formula here for that each cell, but you can overwrite it. You'll just need to plug that back in if you do overwrite it. Now, the only cell in this gray area that is different is this first one. And the first one's just looking at your initial shares up here at the top. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and we'll just change that color right there, just like that, so you don't accidentally think that you're supposed to drag this formula into that column, as the gray cells are the cells that you would put your information into. And as you can see, there's really not much you have to do with this sheet after you enter your ticker symbol, your start date, your end date, and then you can enter in, do you want to buy on certain day, or do you want to use this percentage up here to populate, or do you just want to enter in your own purchases as well? And then you can select where you want the drip on, off. You don't have to change this because there's nothing to change it to. Friday is the only choice. Your current number of shares, and then how many do you want to buy afterwards if the criteria above is met. So I know there's a little bit more to this one. And like I said, it does still need some work, but I'm still working on it. And I hope to be able to provide it out there eventually if you are interested in being able to plug in whatever ETF or stock that you have, and you just want to see over a period of time what it could have paid out. Now, like I said, you can use whatever ETF you want. And for example, I can use PLTY. So I just enter PLTY, and I can keep with the same start dates. I can change them. It doesn't matter. It will populate what those closing prices are. And as you can see, November the 20th, that closed price was $62.72. Now, the distribution rates over here, don't forget, are not correct for PLTY. These are the distribution rates for MSTY that we had entered. So we will want to actually replace this chart right here with the PLTY distributions. So first thing I always like to do is I like to delete what is here because PLTY may not have had as many distributions. So I just highlight it. You can delete it from there, or you can drag up the cells to delete it however you want, but you just want to delete the information out of it. Now once you've deleted that information, we just go to the PLTY website, and here's PLTY website on YieldMax. Scroll right on down to the distribution detail. We just highlight the whole thing, copy, click the first cell, and hit paste. And there you go. Now we have the distribution information for PLTY. And let's just check our chart to see, did it capture those new distributions? And it looks like we have a $3.34 right here, as that one was on 12/6. And we will look, slide right on over, highlight that row so you can see it. And as we see, 12/6, $3.34. So it does readjust, find those distributions, and then plugs them into the right places. $3.58 to $2.98, $5.93, $5.32, $4.65, and there was the big one, right? That was at $7.04. What a nice one. And as you can see, that was on May the 23rd, and we can go back and verify on our chart. And as you can see, May 23rd, $7.04. So it will look on that chart and it will find it, and then it will put it into the right row. So again, this one here is just for fun, right? But I mean, you can use it for anything. You can use it for any stock. It doesn't have to be an ETF. It doesn't have to be with YieldMax. You can use it for anything. You just plug it in, put in your dates, and then if it pays a distribution or a dividend, you make sure you enter in the distribution or dividend into this first column, and then you can enter in the pay dates into this column. And once you've done that, and you may have to manually enter it if it is just a stock, but there are websites that do display that information where you might be able to cut and paste from that. But these three columns here are not really needed. They're only there because it made it easy to cut and paste right from the YieldMax website. So as you can see, with the drip on, you are increasing the number of shares, but you do still have the same amount of your capital at risk. Your distributions earned is increasing because your number of shares is increasing. But like I said, you are still that same amount at risk. And that is why your adjusted price per share does not change from your average purchase price per share. And currently right now we're looking at PLTY. If I would just happen to turn the drip off on this one, as you can see, my capital that I would have spent would be, say, $6,200. My capital actually at risk, because I've earned those distributions, is only $2,900 at risk. And I have brought my share price down to $29.84. Now, this is not my current position in PLTY. This is only an example. And this is also not financial advice that you need to get into PLTY or MSTY. This is just for fun. But again, I am trying to get this sheet in a better position and make sure that I catch all the little oopses like we just saw one here. But once I am able to do that, then I may actually be able to offer this sheet out to whoever may want to use it. And there's a lot of uses for it, but a lot of it is really just plugging some numbers and seeing what those values would actually be if you have drip on or drip off. Because to me, it's good to know how much you actually have at risk and what your current average price per share is. So I hope that was fun. I enjoyed doing this. I am still working on this sheet and we'll hopefully have it ready at some point. Please also note that the link in the pinned comments and in the description is not for this sheet here. That one is for the stock tracker sheet. I've showed that one many times, but I just wanted to clarify that this sheet that you're looking at right now is not that link. This sheet is currently not available. I've still got some work to do. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, smash the like button, be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, Legend out.